Wow, I've never been called Mr. so much. Jigger never calls me Mr. when I'm not around the crowd, I can tell you that. I don't know what to say, because you said a lot of nice things, Jigger. I met Jigger back when I was running for council, and I met him through his nephew, Millen Shaw, and I was running against Millen. And it was tough for me because it was one of the first opponents I actually really liked. And when I ran against Millen, I learned a lot about Millen Shaw, about his family, about his mom, his dad, and Jigger and his family. We call him Uncle Jigger at home, but Jigger has been really dear to our heart, my family's heart as well. We love him, we truly do. He's a good person, and I can see why so many people are here today, because it's because of Jigger, because he's such a good person, and he's been a great liaison. And I gotta tell you, he does come to town hall when there's situations, and sometimes I say, oh, I don't know what we can do here, but then we figure it out together. And I'm gonna get to what together means in my campaign. That being said, and I don't really like talking bad about my opponents, because we've accomplished so much here in Parsippany, but I do want to say one thing. There was an email that went around from Casey that really disturbed me. And it wasn't because I understand politics. I've been doing it for a long time. But an Indian friend of mine came to town hall and he showed me the email. And I was hurt by it, because it said, I'm against the Indian community, I'm against the temple. And I have to tell you, I was so upset, because that's not how I was raised. That's not how I work, and that's not what I do. And then I realized it's the silly season, we call it, the political season. But it still bothered me, because I was raised by a woman about this tall, and my father was a good man. My dad was a World War II veteran. He fought in 4 major battles during World War II. My dad didn't have a mean bone in his body. Now you got to remember, my parents, my grandparents, my fathers came from Italy. And from Italy they went to Brooklyn, New York, and from Brooklyn, New York, we came to Parsippany. My dad and mother would always say to me, when they were serious, it was James. And when real serious, James Robert. And when really, really serious, it was James Robert Barberio. But they used to say to me, never hold anybody back, because they tried to hold your grandfather back. Never hold anybody back. Let people, preach the way they want, the religion they want to be, and support them for it. Now, and the reason why I was upset was because it says I was against the temples. By no means that will ever happen here in Parsippany as long as I'm your mayor. Don't get me wrong, I didn't get angry, but it was more hurt, because I realized then, you know what, I have a lot of Indian friends in town, they're not going to believe that. So that was the comfort that I had, that I knew they weren't going to believe that. And I wanted to confront the person. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what my mom used to do. I'm going to take the high road. Because when you get angry at people, and you get angry and you hold grudges, guess what? You got to be down there with them. I don't want to be down there, I want to be up here. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to tell you, for the last 8 years when I became the mayor in 2010, we had some problems in Parsippany. We had a lot of financial problems. We didn't have the revenues coming into town the way they needed to come in. We had a sewer treatment plant that was dilapidated. It was making no money. In fact, it was ready to collapse. 8 years later, we have the state-of-the-art sewer treatment plant in town that when I became the mayor, there was $27,000 in surplus. Now there's $12 million in surplus. The business climate in Parsippany. Before I get to the business climate, we were losing a lot of rateables to our commercial industry, which means you pay more taxes when that happens. Well, Council President Valori and I in 2015 got together, and this is what I mean by communicating and getting together is important. And I truly believe that's what God wants us to do. He doesn't want people fighting. No, He wants us to work together. And you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. But we disagreed a lot, Council President and I, but then we realized we were disagreeing just to disagree. And it wasn't helping out Parsippany. He sat in my office with me. We shook hands like this. We made a deal. what's best for Parsippany is what we're going to do. Now let me tell you what best for Parsippany became. 5th best place to live. 3rd lowest taxes in the county of Morris. We have in the school system now, which is we're the first town to ever do what we're doing. The municipal government and the school board join forces. What this means is, I realized one thing, to keep our kids safe, our police department had to be in those schools. We had to be there. We had to have programs for anti-drugs, anti-human trafficking, anti-bullying. We had to be there because these are our children. Your children are our children. And we realized that. The council president and myself, we sat down, we discussed it with the school board. Took me 7 years, and they said no, 6 years, but I'm pretty persistent when I believe in something. And now the police department is in charge of all the security in the schools. We have school resource officers. You know what they are to the kids? Buddies, they're friends, they're pals. And the kids love them. And they're there to protect your kids. And we expanded it by having anti-bullying programs. I don't want no kid to be bullied in the township of Parsippany if I can help it. I don't want no kid to feel left out. I want enough to know they're the most important asset that we have in the community of Parsippany. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Well, we did that. And every town in the county says, Mayor, how did you do that? Well, I did it because I communicated with my council. I communicated with the council president. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be the 5th best place to live. If it wasn't for having the communication of 3 council members that we have now, which is Loretta Gragnani, councilwoman, and Michael DePiero, and now the council president, all I needed was 3. The 3 to do what's best for you in the town. Now, I got to get to Vincent. I know Vincent for a very long time. I can't call him Mr. Ferraro, though, I'm sorry. He's a good guy. He's like us. He believes in the community, its people. He believes, he's an immigrant himself. He came from Italy in 1972. Couldn't speak a word of English. He's fluent in English. He loves this country. Parsippany, Jigger said that Parsippany is the 5th best place to live because of me. No, no, no. Thank you, though, for the accolades. It's because of you. That's why it's the 5th best place to live. I have to tell you something. I say this for a lot of people in other towns. If the world could see how Parsippany gets along, the world would be a better place. Because I have to tell you something. I love this community. I've been here since a baby. I went to the elementary schools. I watched it grow. I watched the beauty of it, and I get to continue to see it. And I got to tell you something. You really, I mean, I've gotten so used to the Indian culture. I go to a lot of events, and my wife said to me a month ago, I think you're eating more Indian food than you do regular food. But I have to tell you one funny story. This had to do with the Hare Krishna when they're doing the groundbreaking. This is funny. I'm sitting with Jigger, and the food was spicy that they gave me. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't taste spicy food. So I said, Jigger, what do I do? And he says to me, well, out of respect, you have to eat it. I said, I'm going to start sweating. So what I do, and Hare Krishna, I apologize if this is a sin, forgive me. What I did was, he turned around, and I put all my food on his plate. So he says, what are you doing? I said, if you don't eat it, it's disrespectful. But that being said, I want to tell you about my team. We're here to work for you, not for us. You make Parsippany great. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be standing here today. You know, I know every area in the town, but there's a lot of things I don't know. I don't know how you feel sometimes. That's why I have a liaison. I don't know the things that, and I want to know what you feel. I want to know the things in town that bother you. But let me tell you something about each individual here. They are so dedicated and loyal to Parsippany that that's all you need to know, because they'll be dedicated and loyal to you as well. Being mayor, I've met a lot of friends, and I met a new friend. I would say about a week ago. I was knocking on doors. Now, we both happen to be Yankee fans. And I knocked on the door on 70 Haddon Road. And today he comes, because now I thought I was a big Yankee fan, and I am. But when I went downstairs to his room, He was a bigger Yankee fan than I was. But he came today with a gift for me, and it means a lot to me. Naral?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You see? Now that means a lot to me. But you know what? He took the time, he took the opportunity to come here. He thought of me. And that made me feel good. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we all have the same need. What's that? Family. We have friends. And we all have to communicate. And I've been mayor for 8 years, and I've seen a lot of great things happen in Parsippany. I'm going to get to the things that are real good. The business climate in Parsippany was sinking. I didn't know what to do when I came in because I was a freshman in 2010. And then I realized I had to assemble a team of individuals that know more than I do. And that wasn't too hard to do. Because I didn't know much about economic development, but I did know one thing. If we didn't correct it, it wasn't going to be good for Parsippany. We corrected it. When I became the mayor in 2010, we were losing ratables, which means we were losing the value of our commercial properties. When you do that, your taxes go up. 2010, 11. Now my opponent, who is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, didn't know anything about it because he couldn't. I can tell you why. It's one of the hardest things you have to do. Well, this year, 2010, 2016, and 15, we didn't lose any ratables in 2015. We're at 0, which means that's good. 2016, we increased by $1 million, which is good for you, but not great. This year, we increased by $27 million. Now, what's that mean? That means that that's an extra $850,000 in revenue to the town. You have a 0 tax increase on the municipal side this year. You'll have no tax increase whatsoever. That's because we're building our town in the right way, and this is what I mean by right way. You know United Parcel Service, right? Well, their technology unit was going to move to Marietta, Georgia. So December 26th of 2015, the day after Christmas, I couldn't let that happen. I mean, they were in Paramus, but they think Jersey was pretty tough to stay in. Well, we negotiated, and December 26th, we shook hands. At the end of the day, the council approved it on December 29th, and they're almost done with a brand new 200,000 square foot office building here in Parsippany. The good news is, next year, it's going to increase even more. 2018 and 19, it's going to increase even more. Which means, probably for the first time in a long time, we can reduce the taxes. I'm going to close it out because I know I can be pretty winded, but, and I mean this, and I've said this many times, I'm sure a lot of you have heard me say this. I respect everybody's religion, and I'll tell you why. I'm a Roman Catholic. That's how I was raised, my mom and dad. But that was instilled in me, you know, and I go to a lot of temples and synagogues, and I enjoy it. I truly do. I enjoy coming to the events. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy your culture. Now, you have the Babs Temple, you have Ishkan, Hare Krishna. I can't say the one on Park Road too. Sanatan, I mean, if I said it right, can I say it for me?
Sanatan Mandir.
Yes. And Yogi Divine are my neighbors. I was just telling a story. I went to Parsippany Hills High School, and I was watching one of their, cultural shows, whatever, and I was sitting next to the priest. So I'm on my way, I'm getting ready to go to work, and all of a sudden, who's walking on my sidewalk? The priest. And I look at him and I say, didn't I see you last Saturday? He goes, yes. He goes, you live here? I go, yes, I do. But you know what? That made me feel good because that's my neighbor. And you have a good neighbor in me, I can tell you that. I won't cut your grass, but you definitely have a good neighbor. And I will say this about Yogi Divine, and this is important to understand. That was a tough meeting. That meeting was a planning board meeting. I wasn't feeling good. I had a fever. I told the attorney for Yogi Divine that I'm probably not going to make the meeting, but it's going to pass, so don't worry about it. Well, so, I don't know, maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the meeting. And all of a sudden the votes came down. I'm like, this is not going to pass. And then all of a sudden, I realized, wait a minute, Something was not right here. And all of a sudden, it was three no's. And then we got to 4 no's. I'm like, this is not good. But then it became 5-4 in favor. I got to thank Council President Lugo. And I'll tell you why I have to thank her. I said to him after the meeting, I brought him in my office. I said, you know, I didn't know which way you were going to vote at that time because we didn't talk about it.